This video is a quick introduction to Bentley Systems EcoSim Building Designer Connect Edition software. EcoSim Building Designer is a Bamm application. Bamm stands for Building Information Modeling. So architects, structural engineers, HVAC mechanical engineers, electrical engineers all use this software to design buildings and other structures. The AECO stands for Architectural, Engineering, Construction, and Operations. So in this software, you can build 3D models that contain information about the components of the building, and then those models can be used to generate construction drawings. So here on my desktop, I've got some Connect Edition shortcuts, and I've got EcoSim Connect Edition right here. So depending on the Windows version you're using, maybe you're looking at the list of applications over here, and you can see I've got EcoSim Building Designer Connect Edition right here. You can always do a search for it. So however you start the software, you can just double click on the shortcut, and that will open EcoSim Building Designer. The very first time you open EcoSim Building Designer, it will open to this welcome screen, this welcome page. So you can see up here on the top, welcome to EcoSim Building Designer. Notice over here it has some examples, some videos that you can watch. There's learning opportunities from Bentley Systems, and then news and announcements section over here. Now, to start working in EcoSim Building Designer, you want to come over here and say Start a Work Session. So over on the right, there's a tab over here. So I'll click that Start a Work Session. That takes me to what's called the Work screen. And I'm starting EcoSim Building Designer as a brand new user here in my example. So I haven't been in any other projects. So eventually, once a user is in several different projects, they'll get a list of work sets that contain the different projects they're working on. Now, where you'll be working in a workspace, this list right here is where you set your workspace. So different companies might have different workspaces for different reasons, maybe for a different client, different types of buildings that they're working on, and so on. So for your smart competition, you'll be using this EcoSim examples workspace. And then the next list here is what we call work sets. You'll see some example work sets in here. The one that you'll be working in is called Smart, for the smart competition. So I'll go ahead and click on that. Now I'm ready to start opening files in the smart competition. So if I hit browse right here, that will take me right to the smart project in the smart worksets folder here, and into this folder called designs. Now I'm going to have a bunch of other files that I've used to help create some of the smart competition files that you work on, but what you'll see is this file called working model, and that's the one you're going to be working in for the most part. So if I go ahead and open that file, working model, you'll see that I'm then in the file. As you can imagine, EcoSim Building Designer can be a complex software used by all those building disciplines to create building projects. But it's actually simple to get the hang of and use. If we look at the interface real quick, you see at the very top is a quick access toolbar. Then you have the ribbon interface, just like you're probably familiar with in some Microsoft applications. You see the different tabs for the different disciplines up here. So architectural, structural, mechanical, etc. And you'll see that we have a model here in the file already. Now, we use references in our software to coordinate across different disciplines. So an architectural team would have their set of files, structural team will have their set of files. So if we come to this tool right here called references, you'll see that that opens this references dialog box Expand that out a little bit. And you'll see that there are 3 references attached to this file. Now, if I open this button here that says Show Hierarchy, we do a thing called live nesting. So the nature of our projects and how we coordinate and have multiple people working on a project, we utilize this reference system. So you'll see there's this project master model, and the file's called gem.dgn. If I expand that, you'll see, oh, actually, there are several references attached, live nested with that reference. So in some of the exercises, you'll be turning off and on the display of those references in here. You see another one here called the HVAC model. So again, you'll see that has live nested references. And these are the different HVAC systems you'll see as you go along through your smart competition project. Another thing I want to point out is each view has view controls along the top of it. And you'll see things like here, I can say window area, for example, and then I can zoom in to a particular part of the model. This next tool is to fit the view, so it just fits the extents of the model, including the references. And if we look at this tool here, we can actually rotate our views to different orientations. And you can see we have standard orientations like top, front, right, left. You'll notice in the view right now, it's telling me here this is in a top view. Well, view 2 is also in a top view. View 3 is in a front view. Now I'm going to go view previous here, and that will just step me back through my viewing operations. I can see when I open the file, view 1 is in an isometric view. Now you can rotate these views dynamically. I'm holding my left mouse button down to initiate this pop-up menu, and I can say rotate view dynamically, and then I can use my left mouse button and just rotate it however I want it to look at it. I've got an extra tree out here. I'm going to delete that tree. So you can see now that view 1 doesn't show me that it has a standard view orientation because I manually rotate it to a non-standard orientation. Now I can always get it back to that isometric, so I can just choose that list and go isometric. There's other things called view display styles. You'll notice there's different view display styles that people find that they like different ones, and depending on what you're doing in your project, they use different display styles. I set it there on wireframe. So the one we had it on was illustration without lighting. And so that's the way it was set when I opened the file. Now, one thing about EcoSim Building Designer is it saves as you go along. So feel free to look around at some of these tools. You may not be using all of them in the smart competition, but you can play around with these tools. For example, if I go to wall right here, you'll see that we get this property panel. I'm going to take this and dock it over on the left of my interface. And I could just go out here and start modeling walls. Now I hit T on my keyboard right then. That compass that you see is what we call AccuDraw. And I rotated it to a top orientation. So you can see how I'm working in 3D. And I'm hitting Enter to lock that AccuDraw axis. So you can see that I can just go out there and start placing walls. And you can see it over here in the view here. Now, why am I not seeing it over here? Now, right here, I did a Control-Shift right-click. That gives you this screen menu, we call it, with some quick view controls like that rotate view dynamically. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to say copy view 2 over to view 1. I think it's got some clipping going on there. And I'll just say go view previous, view previous. Now I can say undo. So right here is the undo button. You'll see that that wall that I placed goes away. But it does save things as you go along. So what I would recommend, again, I'm going to undo it, is come up here and say File, Save As. And for whoever's working on the project, I'll just put my initials, after this file. And then this is a file that I can play around in and work with some of those tools. And I won't mess up the file that is the main one for the smart competition. Let's look at just quickly another tool. If I can go here and place some HVAC ductwork. Now I'm just doing it off to the side here so we can see. Let me change the size of that ductwork. So I'm changing the width and the depth of that ductwork. And again, I'm using this AccuDraw tool. And if I hit front F on the keyboard, I can actually go up from there. So you can see how I've modeled some HVAC ductwork here. So I'm going to undo that. Especially want you to be aware that, as you make changes or you just want to play around with some of the tools and get familiar with this software, I would do it in a file that's not the main file that you're going to get. So another thing I want to point out is any of these view operations. Again, I'm going Control Shift right click. Let's say I rotate this view a little bit. Maybe I come over to this one and say, let me click in the view first. Make that one wireframe, and I don't know, maybe I'll just zoom out in this one. Now, if I come up to the quick access and notice there's this tool called Save Settings. So notice what it says, Save View Operations, Save View Settings in the active design file. So the file you're in is always the active design file. So this isn't really saving the file, it's saving the settings for the file. So watch what happens if I say Save Settings, and I go ahead and close this file. So I'll hit the File tab, and I'm saying Close in that menu. Then I can just open it up again. So that's the one I was in last when I put my initials on. So you notice that the views are now saved the way I changed the views. I'll say don't show this warning again right there. So notice how this view is rotated. This one's in the wireframe display style. This one's zoomed out. Now, I'm going to go File and open the original file. So again, this is the one you're going to be using in the smart competition. Make sure and do a Save As to save ones if you want to explore some of the tools a little bit more. So notice how this one still has all those views the way they were. But just to demonstrate, again, I'm going to rotate this view. Maybe I'll zoom into it some. Maybe I'll apply perspective. You can turn on perspective in your views. That makes it more like you're looking at it through a camera lens. And if I zoom far enough in here, you'll actually see inside the building here. Here I'm doing a right press on my mouse. So a right press means it's a little bit longer than a right click. And that way I can access this pop-up menu that opens up when you do a right press. Level off and just turn these walls off temporarily. So you can see inside the gym there, for example, some structural elements, some HVAC components, basketball gym equipment. So I'm going to go View Previous to turn those walls back on. And let's say I zoom into this view. Maybe I change the display style of this one. Transparent. Now, watch what happens. I'm not going to say Save Settings. So what I said a minute ago is, I saved settings. So I'm just going to say File, Close, and just reopen that file. So last one I was in, Working Model. And notice how the views go back to the way they were before. So those changes that I made to rotating them, setting perspective, changing display styles and things like that, since I didn't say Save Settings, it just went back to the way it was the last time. Now again, there's a lot to EcoSim Building Designer. You'll have instructions in your exercises to go through your smart competition for what you're going to do with this particular model inside this particular software. I am going to come up here and say File. And if we say close right here, and that takes me back to the work page. And notice this tab on the left, I can always come back to that welcome screen and take a look over here. There's some videos for our users. So here's the welcome and backstage. So these are some introductory videos. Maybe you want to take a look at those as well as this one here. So, this one's 6.5 minutes long. This one's 8 minutes, but this talks about the ribbon bar interface. There are some other more advanced videos if you want to take a look at those. This one talks about the federated project, and that's the use of that live nesting we were talking about. And like I said, there's some more advanced videos over here too. So maybe you want to take a look at those in your project. Don't forget, from the welcome screen, you can always come over here and say start a work session. Again, your workspace, your work set, and then the file that you mainly be working in is this file name underbar working model. Don't forget, if you add components or modify components, that it just saves as it goes, and that the view operations are saved by using that save settings, because those are settings in your file. So good luck with the smart competition, and thanks a lot.